Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We're so excited to talk about mastering endorsement marketing from readiness to ROI. My name is Amy Scanlon, and I am the GM of the affiliate practice here at Right Side Up. And if you're not familiar with Right Side Up, we are a collective of growth specialists in marketing, all areas of marketing, everything from life cycle to GEO, SEO to performance creative to just name a few. And we help companies achieve their goals, their growth goals, by deploying the right resources. And that could be anyone from a fractional leader to a consultant to a custom agency team to your next FTE. So we help companies at all stages achieve their growth. But enough about us. I'm so excited to get started. But first, let's just dive into some quick housekeeping items. So please note that you're all muted, so only the panelists here will be on air. This is a live discussion, and we are so excited. We definitely want to chat. So please ask your questions, put them in the Q&A module. We'll answer them in real time, and this is just going to be even better with your participation. And lastly, this will be recorded. We'll be sending it out via email tomorrow, so please check your inboxes. And let's get started. I'm so excited to introduce my colleague Christina Rubino. She is the GM of our offline practice. She was inspiration and a mentor to me when I launched the affiliate practice, and she is a host extraordinaire, incredibly insightful, I find, with our Growth Talks podcast at Right Side Up. Welcome, Christina.
Thank you, Amy. That is the kindest, sweetest introduction. I often say that I used to be really skeptical of affiliate marketing until I met Amy, because Amy and her team do things the right way. They do things the way that, like, whenever somebody pitches affiliate marketing to you or talks about it, you're like, yeah, but like, this is all nice, but are you really going to be able to do that? Or am I just going to be like buying whatever I'm going to be buying? And it's like, no, they actually do it. So the respect is mutual. This webinar came about because Amy and I always trade notes. We like to say that we're kind of like the yin and yang of what we do. Like, my team very much focuses on endorsement at scale, and also many broadcast offline channels that you're probably familiar with. And Amy's team really focuses on like micro to mid-sized partnerships, like deep partnerships with publishers and networks of all different sizes, in all different mediums. So it's like there's very much a place for both of our practices in the media ecosystem. And we, like I said, we trade notes all the time. So we're like, we should probably just get on a webinar and record something about it. So here we are. And yeah, please ask questions. We have joked around that like Amy and I both go rogue. So we have a couple of slides, but like we might go off on a tangent. So if that interests you and if you're enjoying the tangent with us, please participate. Do not be shy. Neither of us are. Awesome. Let's get into it.
Great. Let's start with poll. I always like a good poll. I always think I know what the answer is going to be and what people are going to go to select, but they never do. So, what's your level of familiarity with endorsement marketing? Let's give you a couple moments to answer this, and then we'll see. Christina, do you have a hunch on what you think people will say?
I think we're gonna get, well, now I'm like, now I'm snooping. I see a couple of
Right.
people from my team. I see a couple of people I know in-house. I think we're gonna get like, I worked on a few and I regularly manage, and maybe a
Mm.
couple of brand news. So
Oh
let's
my
see.
God. Yeah, I'm super excited. Did that resonate? Oh my God,
You guys,
amazing.
that's it. It's not gonna get any better than that. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, I
Oh
also
my gosh,
like
this
am
is
laughing at
awesome.
how few people consider themselves an expert when I see people from my team here and I'm like, you guys are experts, get out.
Right?
But that's just me being a hype girl. So
Oh
yeah,
my God, I love it. Well, this is going to be really fun. So
amazing.
please participate because we want to hear what you're seeing and then we can talk about what we're seeing. Sometimes the patterns are the same, sometimes they're not. So let's move on to kind of
Cool.
endorsement marketing 101 and why it matters and how it influences the buyer journey. And so, I think a couple years ago, Christy and I talk about this with you a lot, how the buyer funnel changed where buyers stopped believing brands and buyers started looking to people for discovery, consideration, purchase, and advocacy. So you've got endorsement marketing has been getting a very large seat at the growth table for the last couple of years and absolutely needs to be part of your 2026 growth strategy, not only
Yeah,
because it is that's where buyers are starting their journeys, but it's also increasing AI visibility through third-party content syndications. And so a lot of times people
big time.
refer through my lens will refer to affiliate as a channel, and I correct them a lot because affiliates fill gaps in areas you can't and won't do internally. So there are gaps at every stage of the funnel and in all channels. And so I like to refer to affiliate and creator and influencer, like you said, the nano micro as a program versus a channel because we can add value at owned, earned, and paid. And oftentimes the affiliate program is evaluated based on where it lives in the organization and often lives in the
Mhm.
performance marketing team. And it's such a bummer because endorsement marketings add value by building brand equity, driving brand awareness, driving earned media value, and then, of course, driving performance, not just conversions, but often UGC that can be pushed around the organization make to make that partnership extend the life of it and to utilize those assets across owned, earned, and paid. So I think of affiliate as a program versus a channel. Do you think of podcast very similar or offline radio, TV out of home, all the many channels that you manage?
I know. It's like, it's so funny because I also think that like the distinction between offline and online is meaningless. And if
Mhm.
anybody has a better idea on a name for my practice, I'm all ears. But we literally have just, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Everybody
Mm,
knows what we do as offline marketing because, particularly in audio, what we tend to find is that people interact with audio very similarly, regardless of channel source. So, regardless
mm.
of if you're listening on AM, FM radio and tuning in, if you're listening on satellite radio, if you're listening to a podcast on your phone, unless you're like a sociopath, you're not just going to sit there and stare at cover art for the entire hour, right? There's some people who do watch video, and video has become a bigger part of some of these channels, like podcasting. But by and large, I would say for me, I do think of like podcast and radio and streaming audio as channels, but for me, endorsement is a tactic.
Mm,
Endorsement is a creative type and a tactic. And what I mean by that is that kind of how Amy mentioned, it you can work endorsement marketing into just about every medium. The earliest example of this that I can remember from a digital perspective, and I'm gonna like out myself here, but like I had a food blog in the late aughts and early tens, and I was part of AOL's content network. Hilarious. I like never saw a dime
amazing.
from it, but it was one of those things where I get very interested in like the business end of media and like the actual production of it, but also it was just a place where I wanted to like put my Italian American recipes and like have them for my friends and family and stuff. But it's like I would regularly talk about and link to products that I loved. And I had a couple of friends be like, "Oh, I never even thought about buying an OXO can opener until you raved about yours, and I don't know why." And I'm like, because it's the best can opener that's ever existed, and let me tell you why. So it's like endorsement, even in the earliest, like in earlier channels, radio endorsement, if you think about like the Howard Sterns of the world, but even earlier, like when DJs would talk about products and do live reads, there's an element of personal endorsement to that. And when we say
Hmm.
endorsement, we don't necessarily mean like I am only going to use this product whenever I need this product from now until the day that I die. Amen. Like, that's not what endorsement means. Endorsement means that somebody is lending their trusted, credible voice and extending that to the products that or services that you're advertising. So, when you think about it, endorsement can really be worked into any channel or strategy, especially in channels or categories where you might not think it's as relevant. Like B2B, we have a surprising amount of success in B2B because endorsements are where it's at, frankly. We, Right Side Up, actually has grown almost entirely from word of mouth and marketing. But
Right.
really, a large part of it is word of mouth, which is driven by marketing. But also, it just straight up is like, hey, I've got this great partner and I want to tell you about them. And it's been a
Yeah.
lot of grassroots growth. And so when I think about that, when I think about some of our B2B clients, um, I remind myself that endorsement is a tactic.
Yeah, it's so true. And B2B does really well too for affiliates. So
Makes sense.
yeah, and it's funny. I think finally the endorsements being ubiquitous to the organization will start to break down the silos and the funnels. I'm always excited when Christina's team and my team get to work together on projects because we start to break down those silos and we start to help brands understand that endorsements really can be leveraged throughout so much of the organization. Such a missed opportunity when it's so siloed.
Yeah, and it's people forget like yes, we're all growth marketers. And if you're on this call, you're probably a growth marketer, right? That's not to take away from the bread and butter, like day to day of what we do. But we forget sometimes that these channels are highly influential at moving brand metrics that are really tough to move.
Yeah.
So when you think about stuff like top of mind awareness, unaided brand awareness, and aided brand awareness, frankly, when you think about
Hmm.
consideration and you think about all of the parts of the funnel, believe it or not, television has long been the most, noteworthy medium in terms of moving those metrics. Podcasting is actually right behind TV, which is
Mm.
wild to me. But when you think about it, it's like, oh, okay, I listen to this person. It's a very intimate medium. Like they're in your ear. Like they're literally like if you're listening with headphones, like they're in there.
Yeah.
And it's very plain to see why somebody that you trust telling you about a product that you might like, if you like them and if you like the show, you might like that. That has upper funnel impact. And if you don't
Absolutely.
have brand in the mix to measure that, like one myth that I
Hmm.
always hear is like, well, brand just doesn't measure anything. And it's like, no, well, we do. I like to call myself a reform brand advertiser because I have set my share of money on fire. I'm not going to dispute that. But also, I like to say that I would prefer to do it in a way that keeps me warm.
Yeah.
So the thing with brand is just you have the luxury of looking at a broader time horizon, right? You're looking at top of funnel, mid funnel, and
Hmm.
you have the opportunity to understand what your programs are doing along the upper parts of the funnel. And if you're measuring that periodically with like some sort of an awareness study or brand tracker, it doesn't have to be like a
Hmm.
Millward Brown 9 box. Like it could just be something like kind of quicker and dirtier.
Yeah.
But if you're measuring that, then you get to understand the impact. And then you can also start to break down silos in budget, which are where programs also get real weird when it's like, well, this is a brand initiative. And it's like, well, you
Totally.
should probably include a call to action.
Yeah.
Like
It's
just an idea.
Oh my God, it's so true. And that's why later on I'm excited to talk about the AI buyer funnel and how it's collapsing into one funnel and how both brand and conversion metrics need to be tracked together. Christina, running endorsement marketing at scale can be so tough. So I'd love to know, like, from your perspective, how can we maintain authenticity at scale?
This is, I get that question a lot. It's the challenge really is making sure that you're not losing touch of the goals
Mm.
of the program and the
Hmm.
heart of the brand and the products that you're advertising. I know that sounds kind of like a squishy answer, so I'll explain what I mean. One of the things that always surprises people is the extent to which endorsement marketing is media buying humans from other media or other humans. Yeah, humans buying media from other humans, right? There is a very relational aspect to what we do.
Yeah.
And so when we think about the way that we work, it very often is like not necessarily picking up a phone, but like, yeah, we do pick up a phone sometimes. It's a lot of email. It's a lot of actually Slack and DMs with partners and publishers. Like we're in there with them. And so part of it also, when you're thinking about authenticity at scale, is really working closely with your partners to be like, listen, does this host actually give a shit about this product? Or is it just like, yeah, they kind of take everything? One of the best things that I've noticed hosts do is they will say no. And when
Mm.
I first got into podcast advertising about 10 years ago, I was like, excuse me, how dare you? And now I'm like, no, please say no if you're not into it, because
Yeah.
somebody saying yes and being wishy-washy about doing the endorsement is way worse. Like we used to work with an ED brand back in the day before some of the stigma got removed. And it
Hmm.
was always like, well, my friend has this problem. And I'm like, all right, bro, like we get it. Your friend has this
Yeah.
problem. And it's like they wouldn't talk about it credibly. We got like the biggest influencer we could think of at the time to do a read for it and did a passionate read for it. And then we just sent it around and made it like, hey, you should probably do it like this guy. Oh, you don't want, oh my God, are you not secure enough to do it like that guy? So sometimes knocking a big influencer down in the space will help. And then
Yeah.
the other thing that I say is the onboarding process is crucial. So
Mm-hmm.
when we're onboarding shows, a lot of the time you don't get the actual creator on the phone anymore. It
Sure.
used to be literally like onboarding calls. Like I remember getting on the phone with hosts and being like, "Oh, you're actually like Whitney from the Whitney Cummings show." Like,
Right.
"Oh, hey, oh my God, I wasn't expecting you to be here." And that still happens sometimes. But by and large, you're working with either salespeople or sometimes producers will be involved.
Mm-hmm.
Put together a really tight onboarding packet and make sure you're giving them do's and don'ts
Yeah.
because that also helps you from a legal perspective because very
Mm.
often you're not going to get the opportunity to preview ads before they go live. And
Yeah.
that's a feature, not a bug,
Yeah.
right? You shouldn't have too much of a hand in editing the influencer, the influential humans uh ad.
Yeah.
It should be authentic, it should come from them. But if you give them really tight guidelines on do's and don'ts, then you can get into that. And actually, Amy, I'll tee us up for this one. This is where like there's a lot of wishy-washiness of like what's influencer, what's endorsement.
Mm.
The answer to us, and we aligned on this definition without even knowing it. Like we were like, oh, for us, influencer is platform first. This is
Yeah.
UGC that wins
Yeah.
platform algorithms. Creative is the product. It's very different than a channel like podcast advertising or digital publishing, like which Amy works in a lot, where it's like these programs should be profitable on their own at scale
Yeah.
versus influencer. Very often what you find is that when we say creative is the product, if you like, I'm an avid consumer of TikTok, which is probably doing wonders for like my attention span. But if you look at TikTok ads, it's a great example of like creative being influencer driven, and it can be very impactful. Now, I will say it's also very noisy now. I think that we're starting to get really skeptical of that. And I know, at least as a consumer, I'm always like, all right, whatever. Like I see the little shopping cart icon and I'm like, don't even with me. Right. So it can still be effective, but I think it's also about being choiceful with it. But that's really the difference. Endorsement is a
Yeah.
tactic that you use across a bunch of different channels that allows a program to stand on its own for performance in a way that's really authentic and credible.
Yeah. I love that. It's funny. You said so many things in there that resonated so much with me. Like one, I I'm forever being asked, well, can we just double our affiliate program in the next, 2 months? No, because this is a relationship channel. It's not like the core channels where you just
Just
turn
like,
on the fire hose of data. It's like, well, if I just
yeah.
asked 1,000 best friends to come to dinner, I'm not sure I would get, you know, 10. I'd have to have conversations, warm them up and nurture them. And so I
Yeah.
I love that you really hit home that these are relationships. You have to maintain them. And to sustain performance, you have to maintain that relationship. So absolutely love that. Absolutely love like giving guidelines, but also giving the space to give their authentic endorsement in a way that
Yes.
they know will resonate with their audience. So yes, you want to have the brand guidelines, definitely, definitely, but you also have to give the leeway because it will come through authentically or not if it's rigid, even when you're paying for it. And I know
Yes.
when you're paying for that placement, you do want the ability to for us in our world, we want the ability to read through, make sure it says everything that we want to say. But sometimes there's the brand will come back with some very strong language in their voice, and it just doesn't always land.
Yeah. It's my least favorite things. And we've coached all of our clients out of this over the years where it's like, please do not write an endorsement in your copy. Like we
Mm,
draft all of the
yeah.
copy for all of our podcast ads, for example. And inevitably, when a client is working with us for the first time, if they're not very familiar with how endorsement works, they'll include an endorsement line. And I'm like,
Mm.
no, stop it. Don't do that. Because one, people have a really good bullshit meter.
Yeah.
Okay. We like consumers are more educated and informed than they ever have been before. So cool it with the like super cutesy brand language, cool it with the absolutist claims. The other thing is like, think about frequency. If your campaign is any good, people are going to hear this often. If your endorsement line sounds the same from every partner, it's going to ring false. So you
Yeah.
have to use like common sense when you're doing
Yeah.
this. And also, we put this here, but like authentic fit beats
Hmm.
absolutist claims. And
Yeah.
that's an Amy line right there because I this is where it's like I only use it's like dude come no you don't. You didn't use
Hmm.
this product until you heard of it and you may or may not use it after this. Hopefully you will. But
Hmm.
there are a number of times where it's like you'll hear an absolutist claim and it'll be really clear that like oh my god I just broke something. No, I didn't. All right. Like that it's like, okay, I'm gonna read this ad out loud. And it's like you could hear
Yeah.
the host reading from the copy
Mm.
because either you've made it so that you've made language mandatory for them that doesn't come
Hmm.
naturally to them, or the other thing is you've crammed so much copy into that read
Yeah.
that the only way that the host can get through it or the human can get through it is to include all of your stuff in. And then you're actually, from an affiliate perspective, I'd imagine you're going to get dinged from an SEO and GEO perspective if your language is the same across many different sites. So, like, there's all sorts of reason that you don't want to be
Yeah.
overly prescriptive when you're working with endorsers.
And to your point of the BS meter for the buyer, but the BS meter like of the host or the
Oh,
creator, like you know when it's not them and you're thinking, huh, this is odd. It doesn't sound like
podcasters will
them.
make
This
fun
doesn't
of
sound like
you.
my friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also podcasters will make fun of you. I will
Oh, I
never forget,
bet.
like early on. Early on, we had actually, it was the host of Pod Save America. We were working on a product that later became Apple News. And we didn't refresh the copy for a few
Mm,
months. And they
mm.
got sick of reading it and started bitching about it in the middle of the ad. And I was
Oh,
just like,
wow.
you know what, guys? We have an opportunity here. So you know what we did? The next time we did an ad, we gave
Hmm.
them one line. You didn't like the copy, so you do it. And then we just made the call to action mandatory. It was
Perfect.
one of the best reads I've
Oh,
ever heard. They were just like, we can't believe they heard and messed with us. So, like, there's all sorts of really fun things that you can do because,
yeah.
again, this is still human to human,
Hmm.
right? And we're starting to hear about like the use of AI to re-record host spots and all that. I think there's a place for AI to help with some creative optimizations that might need to be made, but by and large, AI is not going to do it for you yet. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, right? Like the models are just getting the LLMs are getting so good, but
Yeah,
also again, BS meter, people are really starting to clue into AI developed creative
for
and
sure.
it can actually backlash to a brand.
Oh
So,
my gosh, it's so,
um,
yeah, that is
yeah.
so, so important. I've always wondered with the mediums that you work, we're a big fan of seeding product and seed it often. If we want a
God,
creator
yes.
to
Yes.
talk about it, you have to let them
Yes.
have it. Is that
Send
something that you,
product.
yeah,
I don't care how much it costs. I don't care how much the show costs to an extent.
right.
Send the product. Let
Yeah,
them try it. If it's a service, give them a year of the service for free.
yeah,
If
yeah,
it's a product that you're like, the reason that I'm going to do an endorsement tactic or an endorsement first medium is because I want people to understand how to use the product or to understand the value of it, give it to the host.
yes.
Don't be cheap. With all of my love and support, do not be cheap with them. And also,
Hmm.
if you're working with a host for years, send them other stuff. When I
Yeah,
was in house, right before I set up, I worked at a travel startup and I couldn't be giving people free vacations. We were a meta search. It was, I mean, looking
yeah.
back, an entire vibe. But there's actually a long story there. But it basically like our unit economics, the way that we worked,
Mm.
didn't allow me to give product to hosts. I couldn't give people free
Hmm.
vacations. So we had really cool hoodies, and
Oh,
they were for
nice.
people. So I literally took the time. I got our UPS account number. I hand wrote thank you notes to all of the hosts.
Amazing.
And at the
Hmm.
time, this big comedian, who I think may have been canceled, so I won't mention his name, but this big
Okay.
comedian at the time did an Instagram live with our hoodie on. And we
Wow.
started getting all of these texts like at corporate being like, what the hell is so and so doing wearing your hoodies? And I was like, yeah,
Hmm.
it was just that extra little bit. And that placement was a banger for us. But it's like,
Yeah.
I even sent them to some of our sales reps.
Yeah.
And one of our sales reps, actually, I later hired him here, and he's like, I still have that hoodie, man. It was a good hoodie. I'm like, thank you. But these are the things that, again, it's human to human. But man, give people a reason to love your brand. And it's like the more, I'm going to sound so corny, but like the more love and care that you put into it, it
Mm.
it multiplies and it goes out tenfold. It
Oh
really
my God.
does.
It really does. We often buy placements and we'll see product, but we will get so many added on extra placements that we didn't pay for. Now, there's an
Yes,
aspect of
same.
affiliates that's like, pay to play, but it really pays off. I can think of a digital media publication that it's, tried and true. So I love it. I want creator market fit to be a KPI for early stage growth. So, product market fit and
Hmm.
creator market fit, because I don't see endorsement going away anytime soon in
No.
terms of the how brands are going to achieve their growth. So, love it. Fantastic. So, we've kind of talked a little bit about, Endorsement Marketing 101. Let's dive into assessing readiness. And for those of you that are with us and listening, give us some questions. What do you think? Endorsement, anything to add in Endorsement 101, anything to talk about that we missed that you're seeing and you think is so very important before we dive into kind of the nitty-gritty of are you ready for this? Well, if you have them, please add it to the Q&A and we'll address. But Christina, let's dive into assessing readiness and whether a brand is prepared to launch endorsement marketing programs. And I know we have different programs, so it might be slightly different for each of our
Yeah.
mediums.
Yeah. So I think there's a few things in place. I mean, I'm going to bounce around a little bit here, but like
Cool.
first of all is budget in terms of
Mm,
prominence and importance for me. We were going to end on that, but like you have to make sure that you have money carved out in order to do this in the first place. And I don't like it when brands come to us and it's out of like almost desperation, frankly.
yeah.
Like I can whiff that out from a mile away because it's like,
Mm.
oh, no way. 90% of your spend is Facebook and paid search and Meta's CPMs have been going crazy for you. I've never heard that ever in my life. It gets really, advice
Oh,
on setting specific goals and starting an influencer plan from scratch. Great
love it.
question. I would say, so actually, when it comes to you know what? Let's bounce around. Actually, Amanda, let's go to the next slide and address that question. Then we can
Yeah.
come back to guardrails. But it's a good question because if you're starting from scratch, your question might be like, where and how do I start? Depending on scale of budget, the product, the category, I would say you can usually either start. This assumes that you've already scaled Meta and you've already scaled either Google or you basically scaled one to two of the big platforms, right? Because that I think every growth marketer knows like those are your bread and butter. Those are repeatable, scalable channels that, eventually become always on and you can just dial them up and down. There's a lot of flexibility there, right? If you're starting entirely from scratch, if your budget is more modest and you're okay with slower to ramp growth, I often counsel people to think about affiliate first because affiliate allows you to build some bedrock in a way that's like, when we're doing a podcast test or if we're doing like a broadcast test, podcast, I would say, you're probably looking at somewhere between 80 to $100,000 in an initial test and media investment. Whereas, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong here, you can start more modestly with affiliate and
Yeah.
you can get some proof of concept. And so the flip side of that is if you need to see results more quickly and if you want to ensure that media runs in a way that's like very programmed, very repeatable, very scalable, that's when I often counsel brands towards an endorsement first channel like podcast. Also, the creative development for podcast is a really light lift. It's just scripts And then sometimes we'll do some B-roll. Same thing with YouTube. It's like scripts and then, B-roll and product shots and all of that. But I would say like a lot of the time, setting aside enough budget to create an environment for a healthy test. The other thing in terms of setting specific goals is you have to have measurement at least partially dialed in.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is last touch is really, 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 really noisy for affiliate. And then for podcast, it's dead silent, right? Because you can't click. There is no click. So when there's no last click journey or part of the journey, what are you going to do? Hmm, it's a problem. So when we think about, tactics like MMM, we often find that they undercredit audio and podcast. Affiliate is another challenging tactic to measure because you're spanning so many different channels often. And even with one affiliate, like you might span a few different channels. That what we say is I like to refer to best practices. You want overlapping and redundant methodologies for attribution. So you want server side conversions, you want first party data. If it's a store, you want like first party Shopify data, right? You want internal attribution to be fully set up. And then when we think about like server side attribution or pixel based attribution, what you're trying to do is understand basically how the media is multiplicative in terms of performance, right? You want to understand for every direct activity that I'm seeing here, what are the activities that are not being directly attributed by, for example, the last click or the last touch.
Mhm.
And that by looking at all of the different single channel attribution sources, and then looking at some sort of cross-channel attribution methodology, either like survey-based attribution, MMM, or MTA, even if it's something that like feels very rudimentary, like you don't have to spend a gajillion dollars on an MTA setup. But once you start to diversify your media mix, you have to have ways to measure your KPIs that are going to apportion credit along the media journey, right? And when it comes to setting specific goals or KPIs, this is where it should be you should mirror the KPIs for your business.
Mm.
You should never be setting special goals for a special channel. It should be like, hey, we need to drive leads, or we need to drive sales, or we need to drive signups of a service. Guess what? Those are your KPIs. And then you're going to look at actions that lead into that, right? So if you know that a form has multiple pages or multiple questions on it, and you're like, oh, we see some drop off on this form, you're going to want to track drop off, right? There's all different softer metrics, but in terms of like what you're trying to measure, set specific goals for your overall marketing program that every single channel can ladder up into, and have methodologies in place that allow you to credibly measure the impact of those channels.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think influencer is one of the toughest ones to start from scratch because the word influencer, as Christina talked about, can mean different things to the
Yeah.
organization. So creating alignment, and most brands dip their toes in influencer for building brand equity and awareness and to drive UGC for the
Yeah.
core channels because that's how you win in the core channels. The algorithm's gotten so good. So that's often the starting point, and you can start with a lower budget where you're seeding product and seed it often and trying to get UGC. And then while you're testing out that UGC in the core channels to understand how it's performing, but more importantly, the frequency in which it lands, then you should move them into an affiliate program, a pay-per-performance program, so you can incent them to talk about you when you're not paying for the UGC. And then over time, the influencers specifically, you will pay them likely a hybrid, a flat fee for UGC creation when you need that
Hmm.
to keep your creative fresh for the core channels, and then and an affiliate paper performance commission. So I think influencer is probably the tough one, and most brands dip their toes in it, and then they never take a step back to understand, well, influencers as who are they as part of our online sales force as well as our brand ambassadors, and then
Hmm.
how do we work them into all parts of the organization. So creating your influencer program from scratch, create alignment internally on what is the goal with influencers, what are we looking for them to do, is it build brand equity, and those KPIs are, as Christina said, those are the KPIs around market share, maybe AI visibility, or is it earned media value and EMV and what we're looking to move the needle there, or is it conversions? And then once you got that buy-in and everybody's on the same page, then dip your toes, test out a few influencers, see how they perform. The ones that perform, roll them over into the next quarter and perform with them. And then go ahead and find lookalikes that you aren't working with and test them out. I like to do it on a quarterly basis and build upon what's working and what's not working. Jace, I hope that answered your question. If not, throw us back something in there and we'll make sure, as Christina said, we can go rogue. So we may or may not hit that, but awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Talking about the guardrails and best practices, I think, at least from the affiliate side, Christina, you mentioned, when we're ready. I often say don't launch affiliate as your first channel because the role of the
Yeah.
core channel
Same.
is you're going to work out your funnel optimization. You're going to work out your messaging. It's so easy to turn it up and turn it down. But when it comes to relationships, at least for affiliate, because they're being paid on the outcome, if there are holes in the funnel, they're going to offboard so fast. And then getting the trust back and getting them to work with you is so hard. So I think, affiliate and podcast, so great for diversification and should be the first two that you consider when you're looking to
Yeah.
move out of the core. I mean, for affiliate, our role, probably the most important role, is reducing your blended CAC, so that you can continuously fund those channels where you pay at the top, right? And hoping it comes through the funnel at the target CAC. So affiliate is small and mighty, and that's often the biggest KPI. But other aspects of getting ready for launching affiliate, we are often in support of all your other efforts. So with podcasts, if you've done that first and you're looking to, tap into the nano micro creators, affiliates, and influencers, share what's working. What are the sound bites that resonate? Because if they're resonating with the host and gangbusters on podcasts, they'll likely go gangbusters on affiliates, and let them be the army of amplification, reinforcing all the great learnings that you've learned from podcast.
Yeah, definitely. And then like there's also some like pretty tactical stuff in here, and
Mm,
you everybody's going to get the recording of this so you can pop in and look at the slides if you want.
yeah.
It's everything from like blacklisting podcast and creator codes in your affiliate program so you're not double paying basically, or stealing credit from
Stealing
one and
attribution.
yeah, stealing
Yeah,
attribution and creating a really fun attribution problem for yourself.
yeah,
And then, another big piece of it is when you're thinking about like partner types and the ways that you're working with different partners. I was really impressed. So Amy's team, obviously, perhaps obviously, runs an affiliate program for Right Side Up. And this is something that like we've more recently gotten into doing, but I was part of I this is so random, but I help with our legal queue at times just because, contracts.
Christina
And I
slash
was
L.
Christine, yes, yes. Oh my God. You guys, if I could just, Elle Woods is just, love it. But I was just really impressed at how clear the do's and don'ts were laid out in terms of like, this is what we'll allow you to do for us in paid search and what we won't. And it's like sometimes the things that you tell partners you're not comfortable with them doing or not going to allow them to do, that can actually be really critical to the success of a program and frankly to not stealing credit from other initiatives that you might have, right? If
Yeah,
you're managing brand search and you have a partner that's bidding on your brand terms, well, guess what? Both of you are going to be paying more for that traffic. So like, yeah,
right.
exactly. um and yeah, I think
Yeah.
we can move on. We did talk about marketing attribution quite a bit. I would say, Amy, are there any potential barriers that are like legal, operational, budgetary, cultural that you're like, oh man, you better get this squared away before you roll up in here and want to create a program?
Yeah, yeah. I think most. most brands still think affiliate is pay per performance only, and sadly, it's not. And it's
Mm,
especially not because creators, at least in the AI buyer funnel, they're getting squeezed out of monetization with the LLM scraping at free will. And so they're still looking to be compensated on their authentic voice up front in a flat fee plus a commission structure. So having
hmm
budget with affiliate is so important. There are certain affiliate types where you can pay per performance, but almost every brand has gaps in the discovery phase and the consideration phase. And let me tell you, those are expensive. But most brands, even when they have sophisticated attribution, don't understand the actual value at the top, the middle, and the bottom of the funnel. So I think
hmm
aligning with the analytics team, oftentimes, to your point at very beginning, the word affiliate means different things to different people and often draws negative connotations because we think it's coupon and deal sites that just cannibalize other efforts. And so making sure that we get everybody on the same page as to what is affiliate to us, what are the gaps we're looking to fill at every channel and every stage of the funnel, and how much is that stage of the funnel worth to us in
hmm
paying an endorsement to move people down the buyer journey. So analytics is really important. Legal and compliance if you're in a regulated industry. So understanding the do's and the don'ts, because if you've got an affiliate that goes rogue and now all of a sudden you have a FINRA or a HIPAA or an FTC compliance issue, then the whole program will get shut down. So important to get the guardrails from the brand and compliance and legal team. I think those are probably the most important for affiliate.
Yeah, that makes sense. And actually, if we could go to the measurement slide, there's something that you touched on here. So I think we bounced around a little bit here. So thank you all I did warn you. But when we think about incrementality, everything that Amy just spoke to speaks to the notion of making sure your attribution is set up as clearly as possible, knowing that like attribution is directional. One of my
Mm,
favorite lines from one of my clients that I've heard over the years was, I get paid to have trust issues. And I just love that so deeply because I am so deeply skeptical of every attribution methodology that we use because this is modeling. This is not one to
yeah.
one, it's modeling, and you're only as good as your models. And things can throw those models off all the time. So it's like when you think about deterministic or probabilistic modeling, and you think about all of the different media types that you're introducing, it's really important to get your baseline solid attribution set up to understand what is happening in the purchasing journey before you go ahead and add new channels to the media mix. And to be clear,
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily mean you pay for some sort of fancy schmancy expensive MTA or MMM solution when you're only running paid search. That would be stupid. But, and if you are doing that, sorry, but like don't pay for it. You don't need it. Google's attribution is fine. You'll be okay. Like
Yeah.
if your media mix is uncomplicated, you do not need to understand multi-touch attribution because you don't have multi-touches. So
Yeah.
this is where it's like you really want to understand, okay, what's going into the ultimate sequence of when somebody is, deciding to purchase. Is it okay, well, they saw something on social, they saw a Facebook ad a month ago. Then they saw, they heard a couple of podcast ads. They might have seen a TV ad, but there was an affiliate that, it's a site that they've been going to for years and they trust, and that's what actually took them to it. But then somewhere along the way, they lost the link, and so they searched for your brand. And then guess what? If you're only if you're only counting last touch, brand search gets the credit. And then, as a former paid search person, we get the question that everybody loves, which is, how do I scale brand search? And you just want to
Mm.
bang your head against the wall.
Yeah.
So, in order to avoid that, just make sure you're understanding everything that goes in to the attribution for the purchase journey. And that
Yeah.
actually takes us to our last slide here, which is AI and its
Oh my gosh.
impact
But
on.
before that,
Oh, please.
Christina, I've got to tell you that we were just at a marketing or conference, Right Set Up was in New York, and we gave out fortune cookies with marketing fortunes. And I discovered the best fortune, and I'm going to switch the word because it's so applicable. But the fortune was attribution is a compass, not a GPS.
Oh, I loved that.
I love that. It
I
was
love that.
GEO, but GEO and attribution, same thing. Compass, not a
Yeah.
GPS. And I think
Yeah.
that's so, oh my God, triangulating is so important and making sure
Very
that
much
you
so.
very, very much and constantly talking to people and make sure on the same page. The worst is when different teams have different attribution. And for affiliate, it's the worst when you are paying affiliate on a metric that they see that's visible, but there's an internal attribution model, and we're going to take it away. It's a partnership, it's a relationship. Tell them exactly how they're going to be measured, even if it's so far down in the LTV life cycle. Tell them, show them, and get on the same page as them. So awesome. All right, I know we're coming to time here, so I'm super excited about AI visibility error. There's a couple things that I think we should address, like how do we leverage it to be more efficient and to drive growth? And then I think we should also talk about how do we use it to measure the contribution for endorsement marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to talk about, like ethical considerations when, when you are utilizing AI to be efficient for, prepping your hosts and endorsements?
Yeah, I think the challenge here is that we work in channels that are emergent, and now we
Mm.
have emergent technology being applied to emergent channels. So this is like, I don't know what the next thing after the Wild West is, but like it's the Wild Wild West, like Will Smith said. Um, I hope somebody gets that joke. And it's not just me being stupid in a corner. But like it's crazy out there. So what I would say is in terms of like consumer facing, I'm a firm believer in disclosing
Mm.
any kind of AI creation of assets. I think that that's the direction that we're going to eventually be led to from a regulatory perspective.
Yeah.
And what I've found is that when advertising doesn't self regulate as an
Hmm.
industry, we stick our foot in it real good. Right. So my thing is like, just if you have a feeling that it's going to be the best practicing eventually anyway, like ad choices, then maybe just do it.
Yeah.
Maybe just don't try and get cutesy, very
Yeah.
demure. Like just be demure. Just make sure that you're operating with the highest amount of integrity in the process and know that you don't know what you don't know, right? There are known unknowns with AI and there's unknown
Right.
unknowns. And
Yeah.
part of it also is when you're developing assets, like in terms of copy development and generation, we use AI for prompts and inspiration all the time. Sometimes I'll treat it like a writing partner, right? Help me
Hmm.
refine my stuff. Help me, hi, I'm sending this really bitchy email and I need you to make it sound not bitchy. Like there's all of these ways that we use AI every day
Yeah.
that I think are really helpful, but you're not using it in a way that's removing the human in the loop. And human in
Yeah.
the loop is maybe the most impactful phrase I've ever heard when it comes to AI.
Hmm.
It's just because even just with ChatGPT, like you can see sometimes, I call her Chatty G, she goes off the rails real quick sometimes. And like even in paid, even with GPT-5, like she goes off the rails and is all the way over here and you got to like pull her back, right?
Yeah.
So part of it is just like make sure that as the human in the loop, you're operating with the highest amount of integrity and transparency and self-awareness as
Yeah.
possible and just let your moral compass be your guide. Again, so corny, but like truly,
So true.
yeah.
And personalization. I think we want to
Yeah.
be
Hmm.
efficient, but I think that sometimes the personalization gets lost. And for me, when I think of AI at its very basics, is personalization at scale, right? And so for in the affiliate world, when we're trying to source partners and recruit at scale, it
Hmm.
would be easy to use one templated email and a drip sequence that goes out to get them on board. And you can, but you have to have a personalization element because to your point, these are human to
Hmm.
human relationships. And And we have a BS meter. We know the grammar coming on a chat GPT that isn't our normal grammar and how we use it today. And so I think for us, we have to be very careful to still make sure this is a relationship driven channel. I haven't seen AI, take the place of relationships quite yet.
Yeah, no, we're not there yet. And to that
No.
point, like as a fan of the M dash,
Yes.
it is I'm
Yeah.
so disturbed by how much ChatGPT uses it that I've basically started yelling at it like, don't use it there. Commas will suffice. Please
Right?
note that I don't like, but it's like it's still dumb.
Mm,
It's smart to a point, but it's still pretty dumb. And
yeah.
as the human in the loop, it's on us to like, if you're customizing. So an example here is, and I don't think my team would mind me saying this, and I don't think the partner's going to find out, but we send notes to all of our partners when they don't make a plan.
Mm,
And I know that might seem excessive, but
hmm.
for me, it's like foundational relational management, relationship
Yeah.
management, right? It's like everybody's got a boss
Hmm.
and our salespeople have to update Salesforce. And that they don't want to bother you for like, hey, did I make that plan? Like, some of them do, but like most of them are just genuinely good people who are like, did I do it or not? Did I meet the mark or did I not? And so we've started sending out these notes back to partners. We do a mail merge solution, but then
Hmm.
we customize within the mail merge solution what we're telling each partner. And
Yeah.
then, yes, the emails are automated, but they're
Sure.
automated based on what our team has entered for each partner in terms of, hey,
Hmm.
you didn't
Yeah.
make it this time and it's due to budget and CPMs being too high and your flighting wasn't what we needed in terms of lining up with the flight. We get thank you notes back from partners all the
Mm,
time. And it's
love it.
like, I got a note from a partner yesterday that was like, they took the time to do this. And I'm like, they didn't take as much time as you think, but we did take some time. And I appreciate getting the credit for that. And
Yes.
these are the kinds of human touches that you can use AI to, you know, you can use AI to optimize your
Hmm.
process and optimize what you're
Yeah.
doing, but it doesn't need to be led or the leading voice in your strategy or in your tone and how you're working with people.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
absolutely. And
yeah,
we talk about that a lot because it's a relationship driven channel and it's incredibly tactical. And so utilizing AI to create all those operational efficiencies is so great because then it
it's
leaves more time,
necessary.
yeah, to
Yes.
build relationships and use that time.
And to be strategic in your thinking
Yes.
on the program and to
Yes.
figure out what's new and what's next. I say this
Yeah.
all the time, but like we've invested so heavily in automations for the practice
Hmm.
because we only hire very senior consultants to do what we
Yeah.
do. Nobody on my team has less than like 3 to 5 years of experience, specifically in podcast advertising and audio for
Right.
growth. It's a
Right.
niche
For
thing.
sure.
So, like, do I really want these people to be sitting there and templating out emails and
No.
versioning out create? No, I don't want them to be
No.
doing that. I want them to be using their brain for like the really important work that they need to be doing to move the program forward for each of our clients. So, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm the biggest fan of automation and the biggest fan of using things like one of my old colleagues here, shout out Trevor. He once said to me that he's smart and lazy enough to want to do something once. And I was just like, oh my God, that's the vibe. That's
Oh
literally the
my
vibe.
gosh.
Isn't that the
I
greatest thing
love
ever?
that. It is the
Yeah.
greatest thing ever because I have always worked hard, not smart. And I feel like AI is a forcing function for it's like, oh my God, Amy, work smart. Like, why are you doing
Give
this?
yourself a little bit more credit than that. But it's also because you're like, well, if nobody else is gonna do it, let me like roll up my sleeves and I'll do it. But then sometimes it's just
Yeah.
using AI doesn't have to be like I think the AI visibility era is the right way to think about it because it's
Yeah.
like you should be using AI day to day to manage elements of your campaigns, to manage and optimize parts of your workflow. And
Yeah.
then you should be really choiceful about how AI can be perceived by people outside of your organization.
Oh my
And
gosh,
that goes for
that point.
consumers, it goes for reps, it goes for
Yes.
everyone.
And that point is so like it has me fired up and is so exciting because I think, a lot of times affiliate didn't have a seat at the growth table and now we have a seat at the growth table. And in terms of AI visibility, it's so important because through third-party content syndication, we are creating this army of context creators that tell the
Hmm.
LLM that yes, the brand is exactly who they say they are, and their offerings are exactly who they say they are. And oftentimes we fill gaps. Brands, they're making sure that their websites are visible to the machines. They're optimizing the content to the topics and the subtopics for the prompts. But then you have these endorsement marketers, and I know we do macro micro efforts when it comes to YouTubers. I mean, YouTube is a beautiful endorsement marketing channel. It's the second largest search engine. It is getting picked up and pulled into the
Hmm.
LLMs, obviously in Gemini, more so, owned by Google. But really, not only AI for automation and efficiencies for relationship building, but to help us better market and sell to machines through all of
Yeah.
endorsement marketing, through all of our channels that we work, our programs and channels we work on.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think with that, we're just about out of time, but thank you for the time. This was so much fun. I had a blast, and Amy and I are probably going to wind up DMing at some point today about this and continuing our
I forgot
conversation.
about
So
this
it
and I
was,
forgot a good,
I
yes,
know, like, oh my God,
exactly.
and then remember this other thing we talked about?
Yeah.
But seriously, thank you all for attending. Thank you for your time, and we will send out the recording for this in the next couple of days.
Yes. And if we didn't get to your question or you have a question that pops up after, send it to us.
Oh
We
yeah,
are
find
not
us.
shy of sharing information and we have very strong points of view. So we'll give it to you.
Sounds good.
Thanks so
All
much,
right, well,
Christina. Okay.
thanks, Amy. Catch you
Bye,
later. Bye, everybody.
everyone.